May is one of my favorite times to be bass fishing. Bass are hitting in numbers, they're hitting in size. It is the pre-spawn spawning mecca. It might be one of the most wonderful times of the freaking year. I'm gonna share with you the 4 lures that absolutely slay it for me. Let's hop in as these water temperatures hit between the high 50s to the low 70s. Oh, let's go. So around here where I live in Northeast Ohio, the spawning takes place from mid-April to mid-June as these males start getting the nests ready for the females. Now, these nests will be constructed by the males in anywhere from 1 foot of water to 6 feet of water, really depending on the water clarity because these eggs need light. Then the females come in and they lay eggs. I mean, a lot of them, anywhere from 2,000 to 20,000 eggs. And the crazy thing is they might deposit their eggs in a variety of different nests. Crazy, right? So these are the lures I have tied on that will absolutely perform. The first one is this guy right here, the square bill crankbait. Man, this guy is used and abused. So I'll be reaching for this lure right here. I probably caught 150 bass already on this one lure. That's why it looks so beat up. I changed it out with trapper hooks. These things are really sticky sharp and they're freaking awesome. So I'll be reaching for this whenever I hear bass busting the surface on shad. The larger the splash, the faster my kayak moves to that spot. So when the bass are hitting shad, a lot of times you'll see this, there'll be shad like flying in the air. And what they're doing is they're stunning these fish and they'll circle around and they'll come and eat them after they kind of bust them. And so what I do is whenever I hear those, I'll throw this square bill crankbait about 5 feet over where I saw the shad bust and to kind of pop it through there and let it sit. And usually on the pause, it will absolutely get nailed. It's kind of crazy. I'll catch fish and they'll be jumping and shad will be flying out of their mouth. It is a blast. So if you can locate one of those shad balls, man, this square bill crankbait, if you can match the hatch on the color and size, you're gonna have a fantastic day. If I'm on a ball, sometimes I'll catch 40 bass in a morning. It's a freaking blast. Now the idea is you're looking for a shallow diver and just don't throw it out and do a slow retrieve. A lot of times you gotta create your own deflection, right? You wanna get that thing looking like an injured bait fish. Remember, bass are predatory fish. So they're gonna look around and see, hey, where's the one that's injured? Where's the one that's slow moving? So you're gonna wanna pop, you're gonna slow this down. You wanna make this look like an injured bait fish because bass are thinking least amount of energy, most food. For whatever reason, if they're not interested in this as it's going through the water column, I'll just throw this out and just let it sit there. Just get a little pop, pop, maybe just a couple inches. And for whatever reason, when they don't hit it underwater, they will just come up and actually slam it on the top. So if you're coming up short on the retrieve and all the creating your own deflection, let it float to the top and just give it a little bit at a time. And I have a feeling you're gonna have some luck. This guy right here, if you're interested in this one, this is from Cast Cray. This is the Square Billy Pearl Ghost. Has a little bit of that purple on the top. This thing's an absolute bass slayer here in Northeast Ohio. So next up on the list, if you watch my channel, you're not gonna be surprised, but it's the Wacky Rig Senko. This guy has helped me put over 100 inches on the board last month, and this has been catching some absolute pigs for me. I have it on 8-pound fluorocarbon on a 7-foot finesse rod from Impulse, and how I really worked this and really caught some nice 21s, some 20s, some 19s, is it rained like crazy last month. And so I found out on the lakes that I fish where the water is coming in, I would throw this out into current. And how I would hook it is I wouldn't hook it and let the hook expose itself because it always get caught on the bottom. So I'd basically hook it halfway through the worm. And so this thing would just kind of float on in this really shallow water. And as it's popping along the bottom, freaking donkeys was to come and snatch it up. So had a really great month last month, plan on having a really great month this upcoming month. And I really used it as a target strategy in shallow water as well. When I say shallow, anything under 5 feet, I likely will be throwing the Wacky Rig Senko. Now, these, I did a bunch of custom pours. I made around 500 of these guys. And so I have all my favorite colors for the areas in which I fish. And man, if you are not fishing the wacky worm, you might be thinking to yourself, everybody fishes the wacky worm. You would be surprised how many people write me, I have never fished the wacky worm. How do I fish it? I got a video for you. You can check that out in the description below. All right, for my wacky rigs, the hooks I use are going to be either the Katana 2/0 right here. I got the Mustad beak hooks. These are nice. These are 2/0 as well. And I've been goofing around a little bit recently because I got a fantastic deal on trapper hooks. These are 3/0s. And so these are super sticky sharp. I've been happy with all 3 of these. Third lure that I'm gonna be using is this guy right here because I tournament fish a lot and I really need to catch those giant bass. And this thing has a tendency to bring the big girls up who are lurking in the shadows, who are my 20 inches, my 19 inches, on the 8-inch Mega Bass Mag Draft. The reason I love this is because this tail right here, that thumping action is gonna send those vibrations through the lateral line of those largemouth. And it has a fantastic 10-2 wobble because of these pectoral fins right here. Another reason I like it because I rarely lose a fish once I hook up with one because of their line through construction. Usually a lot of times if a bass is gonna throw your lure, they're gonna use the weight of the lure as they jump to try to spit it, right? And they're using the leverage of that lure to kick it out of their mouth. But with this, they kind of shake it to the left, shake it to the right, it doesn't matter because you're keeping constant tension between the line and the hook. I'm not saying it'll never happen, but I rarely lose a fish when I catch them on the Mag Draft. So they call it a Mag Draft because there's a magnet in the belly here and you can take this hook, stick it up into the belly, and that magnet's supposed to hold that hook. To be completely honest with you, it sucks. It doesn't work very well. So you can stick a bobby pin in there and hold it in. I know the Berkeley Call Shad actually has a better option. It kind of clicks into there, but nonetheless, it's still a very effective bait. Now, the weight of this lure comes in just over 3 ounces, so it's pretty heavy. You're gonna need a stout rod to be able to throw that. So what I'm throwing this on is my 7.4 extra heavy, extra fast rod to really manage this large of a swim bait. And I'm gonna have a lower gear ratio because you don't need to move this thing really fast, right? Just a really slow retrieve every once in a while, give it a pop pop, let it pause, let it sink, let it fall. Once again, create your own deflection to get those bass to hit it. And for an 8-inch swim bait, I'm gonna be throwing it on 20-pound fluorocarbon. This bad boy will pick you up some chunkers and it has some really great drawing power. So I'll throw this in 20 feet of water and get those big girls to come up from the bottom and snatch it. So keep in mind, these are kind of expensive. I really only fish them in, open water situations because if you lose one, this thing can cost you $25 to $30, but it'll catch you a lot of fish. You might get 20, 25 bass out of this before it's absolutely destroyed. At $1 fish, I'm telling you, this guy's worth it. The fourth lure that I'm gonna have hooked up is either gonna be the shaky head or the Nico rig, depending on how lazy I am. So being that I have the top of the water column, the middle of the water column kind of settled, right? I got my square bill crankbait, I got my Mag Draft, and I have my Senko. I want something to fish the bottom, so that's why I'm going with the shaky head or Nico. So the Nico is really easy because I already have the wacky rig set up. So if I'm carrying some nail weights, shove it in the end of it, throw it on the bottom and really just kind of twitch it, kind of drag it along the bottom, and it's really easy to pick up bass using the Nico. However, I want a larger presentation. I'm gonna break out the shaky head. What you're gonna need for the shaky head, some type of shaky head type hook, like that. It's gonna sit on the bottom, and then you're gonna have some type of worm that comes off the back. Now, being that I want my worm to stick straight up in the air, I'm gonna be using the Nico, which is like an Elastec. I know that's like proprietary. It's that type of material that's super stretchy, and not only is it stretchy, it floats. So I'm gonna use this worm right here. This thing, I'm gonna put it on the screw lock. It's gonna be hooked up like this, and I'm just gonna be bouncing it along the bottom. Actually, there's 4 different ways, but look at this right here. Boom. This stuff does not break, so this worm's gonna last you for a very long time, and I'm a big fan of Nico style baits. One of the ways that kind of gets underutilized in my opinion is you can drag this thing. So once it's set up, to slowly drag it along the bottom, this tail is gonna go absolutely crazy in the water column. Also, another way you can do it, let it fall to the bottom, and you can kind of just pop it along the bottom. So it looks like some type of creature that is going from the bottom to the bottom, eating along the way, and the bass see this all the time, so they're gonna come over here and inhale this bad boy. Now, a lot of people are like, oh, the only way you can use this thing is to shake it. Definitely drag it, definitely pop it, but also shake it. So once you get this thing set up, you don't have to shake this thing like crazy, right? You might wanna use the slack of your line. It's gonna make this thing go crazy in the water column, right? A little bit of pop's gonna make this tail go all over the place. So you don't need to be shaking it a whole lot. Just let your line kind of slack and just kind of pop the slack of your line, and you'd be surprised how many bites you'll get on the shaky head that way. Now, I will fish my shaky head on around 18-pound fluorocarbon, and I will have a faster reel gear ratio. And I do that because a lot of times I'll be catching these deep, and I don't want them going into cover, so I want to be able to bring those bass out and out of cover as fast as I possibly can before I lose it. And I'm going to be fishing that on a medium, heavy, fast action rod. Now, I also have a sleeper lure. I wasn't going to tell you about it. It helped me catch over 200 bass last season, and I'm just going to show you the video for it. What I wish someone would have told me about fishing the Yamatanuki. You need to check that video out right there. Thanks for watching, guys. Good luck in May. See ya.